Time to talk some recruiting. I'm Aslan Javandi, joined by Michael Langston, recruiting analyst for Warchant.com, aka the ultimate Seminole sports source. Use the promo code Warchant30 for 30 free days of access to the website. It also includes access to the PRB, the premium recruiting board, where Michael does all his work for everybody that subscribe to the website. Subscribe also free of charge to our YouTube channel. It's right below Michael, lower right corner. Also, maybe hit the like button, thumbs up at some point, some juncture tonight if you like the information that we're sharing. Michael, as always, good to be here with you, man. Been a pretty active week on the recruiting trail for you, no?
Yeah, it's been pretty busy, especially today. A lot of good news for FSU. Certainly, basketball commit, and then obviously a really good start on 2023 class. So it's been a busy day, but exciting.
How about that, man? Yeah, we're looking at sophomores already, huh? Norvell and company.
Yeah, they've been working on CJ for a while. CJ Baxter. I mean, that's a guy they've spent a lot of time with. We did a story earlier this spring. I think several weeks ago, maybe a month ago, we did something on him. A diehard Seminole fan, kind of similar to Derwin James as far as his love for FSU. So, got a call this morning. Hey, he's the guy that I was told is going to jump on board, and so we addressed that on the site. And then CJ and his coach gave us the go for it. And once he committed, and we I just did a Q&A with Cedric Baxter that's on the site. I just posted it probably like 15 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago, right before I got on here. So some additional stuff that's pretty cool. I won't give that away. I'll let our subscribers read that, but it's some pretty cool stuff. But certainly a big commitment for FSU to kick off 2023.
All right, well, let's get this thing started. It is a call-in show after all. Welcome on in to the Warchant.com recruiting call-in show with Michael Langston. Who's this?
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. It's Gator Kirk. How you doing, Aslan? How you doing, Michael?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Good, man. What's up?
Not much. Just living the dream.
I hear you, man. One day at a time, one foot in front of the other.
You keeping the wife happy?
Girlfriend.
She's a girlfriend.
No, girlfriend, wife, whatever.
Our guy.
Sorry. Girlfriend.
Yeah. She's probably listening. She usually listens.
Okay.
Cat calls in every now and then.
Yeah, when she takes a while. She works really hard with what she does, so it's kind of, sometimes she doesn't have time to formulate a question, but they're usually mostly her questions, not mine. So.
All right, she does a good job. We like it. Be nice to her. Yeah. Be good to her. Be good to us. Give us a good question to start us off tonight, Gator Kirk.
All right. We have two defensive ends already with Turner and Farmer, and of course Jennings. They're thinking might play in the Fox role. Maybe they're going to take one, maybe two more defensive ends. So we kind of offered Chambray Jackson, Zion Reeves, Thomas Davis, Kyron Montgomery, and Landon Watson. So some of those kids are going to be left out. So who would be, if we're going to take two, the top two that we would want to get?
Okay. Well, first off, with Brandon Jennings, he's going to play the Mike position. We did a story on him earlier this year. He said it pretty clearly that Coach Marv has kind of hinted at very strongly he will play the Mike position. So he'll be in the middle. I know a lot of people have tried to tie him into that Fox role, but I think he's probably going to play Mike, so I don't think he's going to probably be in that discussion. Now, he's a guy that can play all three positions as far as that. He can play the Fox, but I think right now I think his plan is to play him at the Mike position. As far as the guys they want, they would be the top. I'd say Kyron Montgomery is very high. I would say Chambray Jackson, without question, would be very high. And then Landon Watson would be a guy that they're extremely high on, that they're working hard on to get him on campus, to get him there. I mean, he's very close with Hunter Washington. There was some buzz about TCU, and he was supposed to commit there, or that was the rumor that he was going to commit there. But now it's kind of silent. And Landon even told me he's like he wasn't ready to commit. So that's certainly positive news for FSU. The longer it goes, I think the more positive it is for FSU's chances there to get Watson. Kyron Montgomery, he's already named his top three. I think FSU is very high on his list. I think that's a guy to potentially watch. And then Chambray Jackson, I think I think FSU holds the edge, and they sit pretty good there. I've already put a forecast in for FSU there. So I would say those main guys right now are the guys that I'd circle as the main targets.
How about them apples, Gator Kirk?
All right, that sounds good. Any of those guys possibly play in the Fox position, or are they just?
Well, I think Chiron can play there. I think Chiron's probably the one that could play there in that Fox position. When I look at his game, I think that's been discussed with him. I think another guy, Zion Reeves, is another one I left out. That's another one that's high on their list. But going to have a full hot board coming out soon, kind of address each position. But those guys kind of jump out to mind as far as right now. But I would say Kyron Montgomery is a guy that fits into that Fox position. If there was one guy that I was picking out of that three, I think he could play there.
Excellent. You guys have a great evening, and as always, go Noles, and thanks for everything you do for the Nole Nation.
Appreciate it. Good man, good human being. Thanks. We're off to a good start. I like it, man. I like it a lot. As always, coming from Virginia, our guy, Gator Kirk. We call him G, though. Hey, we're going to tackle this question before maybe we get another phone call. So if you do call, I might ignore you for a minute, but we'll get to you. Jeremy Wells had this question, and it was also followed up by Logan Feaster, basically Dink Jackson, his status. Logan kind of asking what happened to the recruitment of Dink Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, that was one where FSU was close to getting a commitment in the spring. I've hinted this in the chat several times that really there are limited spots where you're talking about taking one more corner and one more defensive back, in this class because they have so many, talented guys in there. I think the main guy is Amari Harvey, that, the safety position, and obviously Terrion Arnold will be a guy they'd love to have. Not sure they could even get both of those because I don't know how much room they would have, so they might only take one more defensive back. And if they do, best case, they take one more safety, one more corner. So I've hinted several times that I just don't know if there's going to be room for a guy like Dink, and I think Dink's ready to make a decision, and I don't hear his name a lot as far as pushing. I was kind of saving for the hot board that I've heard more about Ole Miss. I already done that hot board a month in advance, so I was kind of saving that. But now the questions come out, it's okay to kind of address it. That I'd heard more about Ole Miss and Tennessee than I had FSU recently as far as how hard they're recruiting. So I think this goes to a situation where you just can't have everybody as far as pushing for everybody. And I think they're locked in on guys like Amari Harvey and Terrion Arnold and other a few other DBs and that they really are high on. So I think it's just one of those situations where early in the spring it looked good, but then the pandemic kind of messed that up, and then when you add all these guys that they've added in this secondary for this class, certainly somebody is going to be left out, and I just don't get a sense that FSU's been pushing as hard there for Dink for whatever reason. So I would say there's some substance to him leaning towards Ole Miss. I hear more about Ole Miss than I do probably Tennessee or other teams. So I would say there's some justified legs to that as far as Ole Miss holding the edge for Dink Jackson.
Dude, let's just. What is that? What could that mean? What could that possibly mean? Reed Pereira, big spender, $20. Expect to see me in an FSU shirt next time. I got the ACC hat, close enough, right, Ray? Appreciate it. That's awesome, man. One more time from the top. Give him his music.
That's big, man. Ray, we appreciate it, and we look forward to that FSU shirt next time. Hey, how's everyone like my backdrop?
Yeah, man.
My backdrop. I got a new backdrop for everyone. I want to surprise people and do something different, but no, we appreciate Ray. I mean, like me and Aslan never take that for granted when people contribute to obviously the recruiting chats and everything we're doing. So it's our pleasure. We love doing the chats, but anytime somebody contributes, it's big for us.
There we go. Yeah, Soybeans was pointing out wonderful background.
Hey, there we go.
Hasn't gone.
Get some love.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to give the wife credit. Diane put all this together, so she laid this out. She's got it all straight. So make me look good. So I don't want to take credit for that. She's the one that gets all the love for that. But
Yeah.
appreciate it. It looks good. I like it. Good stuff.
I don't know what to do. Like, do we go to a question, or do we just keep letting people know how much we appreciate that? I mean, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, man. It's crazy. Victory Cheese Balls dropping money. Amazing. Doesn't even ask a question. Just gives us money. Let's take a call, and then we'll get back to counting all of our money. Welcome into the Warchant.com recruiting chat with Michael Langston. Who do we got?
Hey, this is Spence. How y'all doing?
Good, Spence. Good.
Fantastic, Spence. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. In the process of moving house right now, but I had to drop off, get in the Michael Langston recruiting chat.
Oh, I've been there, man. I know about appraisals and all that stuff, so I know how crazy that can be.
Yeah, tell me about it. But hey, that's what I come on here for. But anyway, I saw on the recruiting board that there was rumblings about this Virginia transfer named R.J. Harvey, I think it is. Hope I'm getting the name right.
No, you got it.
I saw we're thinking about him as a running back. I know we just lost Laybourne and Grant. What's he got that you think is going to be brought to the table at FSU?
Well, I think he would be a solid pickup. RJ he played at Edgewater High School. So there's a connection. Obviously, he got a commitment from CJ today. He played, he's a 2019 signee, went to Virginia. Obviously, that didn't seem to work. I didn't feel comfortable there. But he's a guy that, I mean, if you watch his film, I mean, he has got some of the some very electric film as far as running back. Started out as a quarterback, as people see listed there. I think he's a guy that would be quite interested in FSU. I think the situation will be the scholarship of how they would work that out, because they probably don't have a scholarship to offer him. So it would have to be something like a preferred walk-on for a few semesters, or a gray shirt, maybe kind of similar to what Wyatt Rector went through. But he is definitely a name to know. Very electric player. I mean, this kid can go. I mean, he's played against some of the best teams in the nation. In few clips on here, him running. I think this next clip was against Lincoln High School in Tallahassee. He went like 80 yards, and the kid's got wheels, and he is a dynamic talent. And I know that FSU has been talking to him some, so that is certainly a possibility, down the line, especially with them losing Laybourne or moving on from Laybourne. So he is definitely a guy that's caught my attention. I brought him up because I talked to some Edgewater sources that were telling me, like, hey, watch out for FSU here, because there's definitely some interest in contact, and he's certainly a guy that I think the staff likes. Now, like I said, there's going to be some juggling of scholarship stuff of how that would work. As far as gray shirt or preferred walk-on, or how long you do that. But there's definitely some talk, and there's definitely solid interest from FSU. And I think if they did have a spot and they worked out a plan, I think FSU would have a pretty solid shot here.
Gotcha. Isn't Edgewater where Baxter is coming out of? Or other?
You got it. You got it. Yep. That's what I just alluded to. That CJ Baxter 2023 commitment. He's from there. I think having connections there obviously with CJ helps, but certainly a guy that RJ that FSU loves, and I think really it's just the dynamics of making it happen more than the interest level, because I think the interest level is already there for FSU.
Gotcha. All right, Michael. Thank you very much. Appreciate you and Aslan doing what you're doing, and y'all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
I mean, I don't know what's going on. What do we do? What do we do here, man? What do we do? I mean,
my man Soy, for my background, I should give that. I'm going to give that to Diane, because she did everything. So I'm just going to give her the money.
Well, hey,
it's like, here. She gets all my money. She gets all my money anyway, so I might as well just give it to her.
We're not done yet, Michael. We're not done yet. Go ahead, give some money to Diane, because
there you go.
Coming
I love it, James. Yeah,
man, it's amazing.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's awesome.
Well, yeah, and also Michael's wife is awesome. Y'all are great too. This is great. We're just sitting here talking about the Knowles, people throwing money at our face. Hey, a couple people have gone here. Giovanni trying to start the hashtag
Okay.
FSU, R Manning 404. Do we have any chance, any Michael whatsoever with Amarius Mims?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, it's a positive that he pushed a lot of people don't know this. He pushed his commit date back to the original date, which was, I think, October. That's a very good sign for FSU if you're looking for something positive out of it. Because I don't think that he was going to pick FSU when he did it, if he was going to do it in August. I think, and I've heard, several people close to his high school and people close to Mims have told me he's going to visit FSU on his own in the next week or so, so it's certainly a positive. And I still think Georgia is probably the likely choice. I don't want to get your hopes up. I would say there's still a lot of work to do. But anytime a kid delays his commitment, that's certainly a positive for FSU, so he can see FSU.
Right on. All right, we got a caller who's patiently waited there for about 30 seconds or so. We appreciate that. Welcome on into the show. Michael Langston is all ears for your recruiting queries. Who's this?
This is Donnie, Michael's brother.
Oh, well, family affair. I didn't think he was going to call in, but he finally came through. Yeah, that's my brother. Over there in West Palm Beach.
Michael, Michael, we're going to get any more 2021 offensive linemen?
Yeah, that's probably the question everyone wants, isn't it? Yes, I think they'll definitely land some offensive linemen. I think Roderick Ward is a guy that is very high on their radar. I think that's one that certainly they're very involved with. Raekwon Buckley is another one out of Michigan. I think FSU is probably in his top two. There's several other guys that we'll cover that we released today in the offensive line hot board. You can go in there, go on Warchant. You can look that over. There's several guys in there. I think they're probably gonna. I think most of the additions they add will be at the tackle position. I don't think too many interior guys that they're left. They would like to get a center, but it's not imperative. But I think most of the remaining guys, I think they already have 2 guys committed right now. I think they would like to get probably 5 or 6, maybe even 7 this class, if you count the transfers and JUCOs. So I think the main thing to focus on is they're going to be very involved with tackles. I think tackles is going to be their main focus to finish this class.
I'm sorry I cut you off earlier. I know you were saying something about me in West Palm Beach, but you're doing a great job.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks,
Michael Langston's brother. Bye. Appreciate you.
Yeah, he's that's my brother Donnie. He lives in West Palm Beach. He's owns his own business as a plumber, so he makes a lot more money than I do. So he loads up, and he just promised me he's going to call in the last few weeks. So it's good to hear. It's good to hear his voice, and guys, we appreciate this money. I mean, you guys are rolling this stuff in left and right. We appreciate that. So thanks for everything, and it's been a fun day just covering this recruiting. It's just been really exciting.
Hey, listen, I know we are a recruiting show currently tonight, but this just came down from Florida State's athletic director, David Coburn, saying that we are pleased with the plan we have adopted for fall sports in the ACC, the plan to play an 11-game football schedule, and in our case, make an accommodation for our long-standing game against Florida is very positive. However, we regret that we will have to cancel the non-conference games we worked hard to schedule. So that means Boise State and West Virginia now are officially canceled. It's also essential to FSU and the ACC that we were able to preserve a schedule for the fall Olympic sports competition, including conference championships. We will communicate our plans to fan attendance in the near future. So things are starting. Over on Warchant, we got some reaction about the schedule. There's also another video on YouTube. If you want to jump to that and come back, we'll be here for another 40 minutes doing this thing for an hour, but we'll keep it going with the recruiting. Was there anything else about Amarius Mims? I didn't mean to cut you off with the call there, Mike.
No, you didn't. I just think it's going to be they're going to get multiple visits, and I still think Georgia, Alabama are probably the 2 favorites in that one. But I think it's a big deal anytime you get a kid to push his commitment back that far to the original date. That tells you he wants to see some schools, and I think FSU is definitely one of those places he wants to see. So it definitely is positive news for FSU, but would still work to do.
You know, it's positive news. Trevante Goodman coming to the table. Take a seat. Sit on down, Trevante. Appreciate you. $5.
Appreciate it.
It's amazing. Yeah, thanks everybody. Appreciate it. Adam Brock says it's Donnie. Love that guy. Michael Langston reunion show here. Let's see here.
Yeah, my brother's really popular. So, I mean, he's probably even more popular than I am in South Florida. So, he gets a lot of attention.
All right. Logan Feaster has a question, Michael. Out of Hargrove, Cardwell, and White, who do you think we will end up landing a commitment from?
I would say Hargrove right now because I feel like there's a connection there. The offense, I mean, he's one of those 4-back guys that I talk about that can play receiver, running back, blistering fast running back. David Johnson seems to like those type that can do a little bit of everything. I think Cardwell and White are guys that just depends on visits since they want to wait and take visits. I think the most talent of them all is probably Cardwell if I had to pick one. Talk about Thaddeus Franklin, who came out on Twitter and said he's shutting it down, but he's done that before, so I'm kind of skeptical that he's still not in the picture. So I think Thaddeus Franklin's a guy you still have to mention until he actually signs that letter of intent. I think Cardwell is probably the most talented, but then I think Hargrove is probably the most likely if I had to pick out of the guys. I think FSU is very high on him. They're pushing the hardest for Hargrove and Cardwell from what I can gather. White's kind of hearing from FSU, but you get the impression that those other 2 guys are higher on their board than he is. So that's why I say Hargrove. So Hargrove would be the guy that I'm locked in on.
All right on. There we go. Folks, if you don't want to give us money, it's fine. We understand it. If you get maybe the like button, a little bit of thumbs up action here on YouTube, we would appreciate that. We also appreciate phone calls, and we got one right now. Let's go grab it right here. Welcome on in to the Warchant.com recruiting chat with Michael Langston. Might need you to turn down whatever's in the background. Are you driving whoever our caller is right now? Oh, you didn't have to hang up on us. I was just saying, tone it down a notch. You still there?
Hello?
Call's still alive, but we don't hear them. So, all right, we'll see if they'll call back. See if we can get a better connection.
Okay.
Keep it nice and clean. It's tough. Background noise as it is. We're not operating from Bristol. We're just in the Midtown offices in Tallahassee. So we're trying to, keep things somewhat good on a relatively modest budget. Will Brookerson asks, Michael, is Hatley, the safety out of North Carolina, still being recruited? I had heard Marv likes him at linebacker.
Yeah, Chase Hatley, he is a guy they're definitely still involved with. Obviously, they're trying to get him on campus. That's kind of the plan. But, yes, they were very still involved with him. Chris Marv talks to him. Adam Fuller talks to him. So he's the guy to watch.
Okay. Caller, thanks for hanging in there. Who's this on the Warchant.com recruiting chat?
Hey, it's CJ from Dedham.
CJ from Dedham. All right. He called in the other days. He knows his stuff, even though he's all up there in Massachusetts, man. What's on your mind, CJ?
I just wanted to ask Emil a quick question. Who would you say are the top 3 recruiters on this staff right here, just based on what you've seen so far?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say David Johnson's extremely good. I would say he's a recruiting coordinator. I think Marcus Woodson has shown that he's incredible. Already got one of the best defensive backs classes out there. I think those guys have done a tremendous job. I think Alex Atkins is another guy that really stands out to me. I think those 3 guys certainly at this point really have caught my attention as far as their recruiting ability, their ability to connect with players, and not just a player-coach relationship, but one where the connection is so strong off the field, away from football, that you feel like even if they didn't go to FSU, the relationship would still be ongoing and strong, from the start. So I think those 3 guys have done a tremendous job already. There's all the coaches have actually put in their point, but those 3 guys kind of really stand out to me.
So that leads to my next theory is that, so I'm thinking that even if we're not pulling any high level recruits this year, but the relationship that these guys are building, and we know the transfer portal has been popping lately. So, what are the odds that in a year from now, if all these high level recruits don't end up liking the school that they're at, they end up thinking about the relationship that they had with FSU coaches and end up transferring to FSU. Is that a possibility or?
Yeah, that's a strong possibility, and that's why I've said from the start that this season is really big for them. It's not about if they win 9 or 10 games or even 8 or 9. It's about kids seeing what the product is, and you have to get these guys on the field so people can see what they coach, the way they are around the players, the way they're using their players. I think that's a big deal. And so that's why I think if you do that, if you say you win between 7 and 9 games, I mean, we've already seen it with North Carolina, Tennessee, several other schools. If you go out there and do that, kids see what the missing pieces are. And I think 2022 is going to blow up big time for FSU as long as that happens. And, certainly the season goes forward, and especially with even their home schedule improving, with FSU getting new additions in the schedule that is on Warchant. But I think it's big just to play the season so kids can see what you are, and that will explode the 2022 class. I think people saw my mini hot board I did for 2022. It's a different vibe as far as how many 4 and 5 stars are on that list. So it's not by accident. I mean, it just tells you kids want to see what these guys can do. And I think if they just put a solid product on the field, it's going to be very positive results in recruiting.
Awesome. Good to hear, man. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, CJ.
Yeah.
Take care, man.
Take care.
Yeah, man. Hey, this was from earlier, Michael, over off Facebook. Preston Fondren. Fondren, actually a neighborhood in downtown Jackson, Mississippi, in case you didn't know that, Preston. Somebody asked Corey and I this yesterday. I didn't have a good answer. I was like, hey, maybe Michael knows. Are we going to lose Corey Collier to the Gates?
Yeah, I don't even know if, the question is, can you really lose somebody that didn't visit you? So I'm not sure Corey is that high on FSU. I think FSU recruited him fairly hard and early in the spring, but he never rewarded them for a visit. So that tells me he wasn't that interested in FSU. I think he probably, if I had to pick, he'd probably go to Florida. But it goes to those points where when you got all these DB commits that FSU has, you can only take so many. And certain guys are high on your radar. That's why I mention these 2 guys often. Terrion Arnold, Amari Harvey, Kamari Laster, who's going to decide in August. Those are guys that I get the consistent vibe that FSU is pushing hard for. But it also goes where the interest has to be reciprocated on FSU, on the recruit side, that you're interested. And I've told people this from the beginning with Corey Collier. Until he visits the campus, it doesn't mean anything. Everything's mute. And so he hasn't really shown them the interest to back up, making a push for him. I think Corey Collier said recently, I'm not hearing as much from FSU. But I say to that is, like, if you're interested, in get your butt on campus and visit them. And obviously he's not that interested in them, or he would have. He visited Florida like 3 times. He visited Miami probably more than that. Florida is like a 2-hour drive from Tallahassee. So if you really are interested in FSU, you would have visited. So I just don't think that FSU is really ever a major factor there. Like some other people, there's other people in rivals that thought that they were, but I never got the impression that Collier was that high on FSU. So I don't know. I know he's a legacy, but I don't know if you can lose something that really hasn't reciprocated the interest.
Fair enough. Transitioning, Evan Maku. Come on, Evan. Late to the party, man, but throwing it around heavy, so it's all good, man.
Are we in triple digits with 100 yet, Aslan, or what? With the money? No, I mean, we're cooking.
We're not far off. I think, we're past the halfway point, and we're not even at the halfway point of the show. So things are trending nicely. Any updates on 2021, 2022 interior D-line guys?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be one of the biggest positions I think FSU's recruiting this year. I think they would prefer signing like 3 to 4 defensive tackles in this class. They would love to get that. I think they're very heavily involved with Taiwan Malone. We've covered that. I think he's going to visit FSU. I think it'll come down to FSU and Ohio State. I think Lee Hunter is another one that's very high on their list. We mentioned this guy earlier, that Landon Watson could also grow into being a defensive tackle. So he might be a guy that FSU likes at that defensive tackle position. So he's a guy to know. Marquise Robinson's another one, very high on FSU. So he's a guy to watch as far as in that class. And then I'll have a full rundown, Evan, on the defense. Defensive tackles will be coming up soon because we just released the offensive line. I think the offense is done now. So I think defensive tackle will be our next position. And I'll go very in depth about every single guy. I don't want to just list everyone, but those are some of the main ones I think they're already involved with. Christopher Thomas Jr., he's committed to Florida. I think the flip happens from Florida to FSU. I even checked on that again yesterday, and the feeling I get is that there's a good chance that happens as far as FSU pulling him. He's originally from Tallahassee. He's a Tally resident, so he's a guy to watch for FSU. Very good ties and strong relationship to Odell. So he's a guy to watch for the future as far as that. But I think if preference was they would like to get either a JUCO defensive tackle or one that fits everything they're looking for, or maybe they might even go to the transfer market and get somebody that's going to help them right away, since they lose a few guys that are pretty darn good, and Marvin Wilson and Corey Durden more than likely. So I think they're going to sign probably around 3 to 4, I think, defensive tackles. But that's kind of the overview, the short summary view before the hot board goes out, the kind of where they stand right now.
There we go. Look at that, man. Appreciate the question. Appreciate the donation, Evan. Very kind of you. Cool, actually, dare I say. Let's see here. We got some questions about stuff that we've gotten some answers and some clarity, but I still don't think. Remember the silent majority. All right. John Sowers asking about will kids be able to take official visits during the season on game days? If I had to guess right now, I don't know, man. I would think questionable if we were, or like doubtful if we're doing like fantasy football designations.
I would answer it like this. I'd say that's the plan, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a guarantee that it'll happen. I think that's what they would like to do, but we're not going to know that until we get into the season where we find out the recruiting restrictions of what they can and can't do. We don't even know when ACC laid out the schedule today, but they didn't really say when you're starting or when you're doing this. So I think as we get past August, because August 7th seems to be the date that everyone's circling that the teams are going to be practicing. So we have to see how that works, and then I think they'll get into the recruiting restrictions then. But I would say that's the plan right now. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen. But just say that's the plan as far as what they want to do, and what I think that's what the NCAA wants to do. They want to get official visits, but at the same time, you got to remember, like, say you get everything cleared and everything's good. These guys are going to have to be tested before they come in for official visits. So you're going to have the coronavirus testing, and so there's going to be careful consideration. That's why I say wait till after August, and then we'll kind of know more on that.
This is the way it's done right here, man. Polk County Knowles Sports and Entertainment Television. Aggressive, coming in with some dollars and a firm, direct question to you, Michael. Chamblaise or Payson, who do you think commits first? Or Shambles?
I would say Dustin Payson. That would be my pick. He seems close. I get this question every week about Payson, about we haven't committed yet, ain't committed yet, but I think he's very soon. I think he's going to. I just have a gut feeling. It's not based on information, guys, but I have a gut feeling he's going to do it. Right before the season starts. I think he's going to jump on board. Too many signs that point to FSU. I've told people I feel extremely confident that FSU is going to be the pick, and I haven't heard anything that's going to change my mind for the Rivals 250 receiver. I think he's a guy that's probably going to be next if I had to pick out of those two.
All right. Hey, two people asked this, William McMillan, as well as, I think, soybeans. Speaking of junior college defensive tackles, the previous question that we had from Evan McCool, thanks for that $14.99.
Yeah.
Hit the like button if you don't feel like giving us money. Soybeans asked about Jalen Williams. Feels like he fell off a cliff.
Yeah, that was weird. Because usually when a new staff offers, they offered him in April. We've talked about his Slade Buckley coaches at FSU's on the support staff. His dad, as Aslan's alluded to, is the head coach over there at the JUCO that Jalen's at. Name of the JUCO, I think Jones Community. So you figured everything was looking kosher, but and it's not academically. I don't think there's academic questions because I think Jalen's already got everything he needs to academically be okay. I think it's just one of those things where I think they saw somebody else that caught their eye higher, and they didn't feel like they were going to have room for for him in this class, and they stopped pushing. They weren't hitting him up anymore or that much, or it dropped down considerably. So they might have saw something on film that the staff in general just didn't agree with, and they cooled on him, because of what they saw from somebody else. That's not to say that he won't be a guy that they check back in and see if he's a guy that they want on this team. But I would say it's more football related. Just my gut feeling, just knowing these situations, I would say it's more football related, that they saw something that they liked better in somebody else than what they see in him.
Oh, we got some people asking. They want like game prediction. They want winner picks out of you and stuff right now. Like they want to know
Okay.
they want to know if Florida State's going to have a week 0 game. They want to know what you think about the wins and losses for this year. Do you want to dive into that? Or do you want to keep it on the recruiting focus?
Yeah, I mean, I've said this on the board several times. I think if you add in the bowl game, assuming they play a bowl game,
That's that's a big assumption right now, Michael.
Yeah, that's a very big assumption. But if they do that, I think they're going to win 8 or 9 games. I think it's between 7 and 9. If I'm gonna be a little pessimistic, I think 7 and 9 is very doable. I think obviously it makes it a little tougher in playing Notre Dame on the road, so that they didn't have that as far as that challenge. But I think between 7 and 9 is kind of what I've been saying all along. So I'm going to stick with that, and I really believe a lot of their success is going to come down to what are you going to do at the quarterback position. What is your plan? Who's going to win the job? Who's going to be the guy? I'm very skeptical that it would be Blackman, just because the strengths that Norvell likes in his quarterbacks. Those are things that James has shown weaknesses in as far as protecting the ball. When you're in tight games, crunch situations, can he deliver? But we've seen Norvell be able to develop some, quarterbacks, and how he develops them so quickly. So maybe he could turn that around for James. But it would not surprise me. I'm not predicting this. I just say it would not surprise me if one of those freshmen is your guy at quarterback. So I think that's a big thing. Is you've got to have somebody that can protect the football, because you're not going to win games if they turn the ball over like they did last year. You just can't. You lost. Let's face it, that Sun Bowl, if you don't have all those turnovers, there's a good chance you win that game. And so they just can't. They got to have somebody that's going to protect the football, get the football out, get it to your playmakers, because they got a lot of playmakers. Tamari Terry, DJ Matthews, going to have Keyshawn Helton back. You got a lot of talented receivers coming back, some talented running backs that are going to be in that backfield. So the main thing is you have to have somebody that can run the ship. And so to me, it comes down to that quarterback. If you get somebody in there that can run it, I think it could be a pretty successful season.
Speaking of quarterbacks, Terry Vaughn, can you compare, contrast the skill set of Chubba Purdy and Luke Altmaier?
I think Altmaier is more similar to Tate Rodemaker when you watch his game. They're both tremendous passers. That's what their strengths are. They put up high numbers as far as throwing the ball. They got the ability to hit the seams, hit the short routes, hit the deep ball. They're both ball location is incredible. I think Purdy's a different bird altogether when you look at his skill set. He's a guy that can do both of those things. He is very electric running the ball, kind of what Jordan Travis has shown as far as at FSU. But he has got arm strength and arm talent that is right up there with Tate Rodemaker and Luke Luke Altmaier. So I think that's what separates us. Chubby is just the full, package, everything, where he can kill you running the ball. He can kill you, throwing the ball. Very good arm, very good pocket presence. When I watch Chubb, you watch him in there. He reads the coverages very well, and his ball location's excellent. I think he's the one that I'm most intrigued to. Whenever they do start practice, I'm intrigued to see how he looks, because he is a special talent. When you're not too many guys you have that have the speed, but also have the arm talent that he has.
Well said. Well said. Let's see here. not going to be here that long. How will the coaching staff likely fill in the remaining 12 recruits? Oh, hold that thought. Let's take a phone call. We'll come back to that. It's been a minute since we've taken a phone call. Welcome on into the Warchant.com recruiting chat with Michael Langston. Who's this?
Hi, it's Kat.
Hey. We were just talking about you, Kat, in a good way.
I heard that. He was actually being nice. So usually he accuses me of not working very hard. So.
Oh no! Don't take any guff from the man.
Yeah. So what's on your mind, Kat?
Yeah.
Where are there differences in how 4-star recruits are viewed based on the competition or the states they play in, or are they all pretty much equal with respect to their positions?
Well, I think if you ask Warchant fans, there's definitely a difference. I mean, there's difference as far as competition you play. I feel like if you say you play in Dade County or South Florida, that's one of the best places to vote because they play some of the best talent every week. But really, I've seen guys that are play for Class 1A schools that are better than guys that play in the highest classification in Florida. So really just depends on the talent. It still comes down to the talent. It doesn't matter where they play or it doesn't downgrade their talent if they don't play, say, in South Florida. Say they play for a smaller school in Georgia or a smaller school in South Carolina. It really comes down to the talent and how they project to the college level. That's what you're looking at. You're not really, competition is nice and it's good. It makes it easier to project, but I wouldn't base it on because a guy plays in a certain place, that means he's not as good as this other guy. I think it really comes down to what the coaches like and what the coaches feel that, hey, this guy can project better on our team in our system than this other guy that maybe plays in South Florida or plays in one of the high levels in Georgia. I think it just comes down to evaluations, and I think the staff has shown so far that they're very good at finding these gems in different areas, whether it's small South Carolina and Joshua Burrell or it's a kid in Atlanta, Georgia that everyone knows about. So I think it just comes down to making sure you nail your evaluations, regardless of where you're at. I don't think the rankings or a 4-star in South Carolina, I think it just comes down to preference.
The more you know. I just got educated myself, Kat. Thanks for the question.
You're welcome. Y'all have a good night.
You show who's boss, all right? Don't take any lip from him.
Yes, sir. Have a good night.
Dude, bye. Yeah, man. It's the whole thing, right? Tate versus Chubba's from suburban Phoenix, and then Tate plays at Valdosta or did play at Valdosta, and we know just how strong the programs are in southwestern Georgia. So our natural inclination is I think that Tate's probably better positioned, but that was one of the questions that we did ask, Chubba's coach, and they play some real competition out there in Chandler, Arizona.
Yeah, and the good point of that is, a good example of that is Tamari and Terry. Yeah, there's probably 10, 15 recruits that people would have wanted because Tamari went at first a 3-star until people started seeing this film. That's why I put more emphasis on the film and what I see in projecting to Florida State than I do what star ranking is next to their name. I know we're in the business of stars and rankings and stuff like that, but for me, that's the way I look at stuff. I mean, I look at more of what I see with the tape and the type of players they're playing against. Now, if you're playing against a bunch of, look class guys you're not going to face in college, that's a different story. But Tamarian's a good example of that.
Let's grab another phone call here. Welcome on into the Warchant.com recruiting chat with Michael Langston. You got Michael. You got a whole bunch of Florida State fans across the world listening to you on YouTube. Who's this?
How you doing? My name is Junior.
Junior. Where are you calling in from, Junior?
Tallahassee.
Okay.
There you go. T-Town.
What's on your mind, Junior?
So we need to get harder on the recruiting show right now because right now things are rough, I feel.
Why is that? Why is it rough? They got a quarterback. They got some defensive backs.
Florida.
What position would you like to see them get some guys from?
To be honest, so a quarterback, obviously, and
Well, they got a quarterback, Junior.
They got Luke. They got Luke Altamar. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the country. What other positions are kind of on your mind?
DB.
DB. They have one of the best defensive back classes so far. They got Hunter Washington, Kevin Knowles, who's very talented. I think Rivals did a story that FSU has one of the best defensive back classes so far. Obviously, they would love to get Amari Harvey or Terrion Arnold. Those are guys they're kind of pushing for. But I agree with you. They need to add more. Just got a commitment from Keeman McAnole. That's a big addition for FSU at offensive tackle. Certainly, they need to add more there. Certainly, they need to add more in the defensive tackle position, which I've addressed very much so. Got a commitment from Byron Turner, defensive end. So they've been pretty active, up to 25 in the rankings, 14 commits. I think the main thing that I'm focused on is, I want to see more as far as the defensive tackle position, and probably get some even more speed edge rushers. I'd like to see that for FSU on the defensive side of the ball. I think linebacker, they're pretty close to what they need. Adding one more guy, I think they would be good there. And then receiver, if you add Payson, you can go back after Malik McClain. That would leave you one more spot. And I think running back will kind of work itself out with fitting the right guy in there. So I think they're on pace to get what you want. But I think it's a case where we just have to let it happen and let these coaches in the process go through the process. But I would say so far they're doing a pretty good job when you consider they've had no spring, no practice, no anything, and they're basing a lot of these commits on relationships. And then got a big commitment for 2023 that will really ignite that class and starting again. And already have a good 2022 class. Travis Hunter, I think he's a composite 5-star. He's one of the best. So I think they're trending towards what you want, but I think at the same time, there's certain positions they need you hit more on. I think defensive tackle is kind of number one for me when I look at it. I'd like to see more in there, but I think they're going to get what you want. I think it's just going to take a process to get to that point.
In recruiting, like I know it's still early in the process, but I'm used to being within the top 10 in recruiting.
Oh, I know.
We got 6 and 7 last year, and they're the number 10 recruiting class in the country. So it's kind of like,
Yeah, it's an adjustment for FSU fans, and I've mentioned that I understand what FSU fans are going through because they're so used to the standard of top 10 classes with Jimbo Fisher and stuff like that. But what I also tell people is you have to recognize the situation you're in. You're basically starting from the bottom from where you were because you had 2 poor years with Willie Taggart, so you're having to fix those issues. You're having to fix your offensive line issues, which you haven't recruited well in several years, over 5 or 6 years. So you have to change that stuff, and that stuff doesn't happen overnight. The main thing with this class, why I say it's a bridge class, is you're bridging to that 2022 where you really explode. You want to have guys in this class that fit that, hey, these guys can play at FSU. These guys can make an impact. That's what they're kind of looking for. It's not going to be a flashy, exciting class when you're talking about the first year of a coach. You didn't get that with Tennessee and North Carolina in their first year. Then after they played a season, kids saw what they are, and then they exploded in the recruiting trail. I think that's kind of going to happen with FSU as long as they show a good product on the field.
All right. Well, I thank you guys so much for your time, man.
You got it, man.
Thanks, Junior. Yeah, man. All right. While that was going on, Michael. While that was going on.
Big time.
Let's go.
PA.
Let's go.
Shout out for Pennsylvania.
One more time. I lied. One more.
I love it. I love it.
Pennsylvania, Keystone State. It's hard to be humble when you're from Pennsylvania. Flavie Gilmore, man.
I think that's the highest we've ever gotten.
I'm done.
25.
I mean, we made enough money for Gene tonight. I'm good, man. I appreciate it.
No, and thanks so much, Flav. We appreciate it, guys. We do this because we love it, but obviously you guys make it easy when you do all these nice contributions, and we appreciate it, and I'm having a lot of fun. This is probably the funnest chat we've had so far. I'm having a lot of fun, and just keep it rolling and keep firing away with these questions. And I try to keep you guys informed as I can. And like I said, with the recruiting class, it's just you got to understand there's a process through all this stuff when you're starting with new staffs. And that would be the only thing I've said. I've addressed that several times, but just they're trending in the right direction, but it's going to take some time.
If I could interrupt, I think Junior was trying to say this, and I saw, I think, a Miami fan trolling the YouTube page a few weeks ago. But I guess, some of the people wonder, well, UNC had a good, decent season last year. Miami was 6-7, and like they're able to capitalize those seasons the way they are currently right now. Like, why can't I guess Norvell doesn't even have one season to sell. I guess a 6-7 season is more valuable than being 0-0. But I guess maybe that's the concern is, can you at least just use your title as head football coach at Florida State and your charisma and charm to start pulling in some guys? But that just
here's what I would say to that Miami fan that went off on a little tangent and said, "Oh yeah, well doesn't matter." Yeah, well, what did Manny do last year? He didn't go out there and just tear the roof off the building. But the kids got to see what his product is on the field, and they saw what they're missing. That's the point these fans keep forgetting is FSU has not shown what they're going to do under Norvell. So there's not a reason for them to jump on board. That's the difference between Miami and FSU. It doesn't matter if they went 6-7, they got shut out by Louisiana Tech, lost to FIU, Duke, and Georgia Tech. That stuff doesn't matter. The kids at least saw what they are and what they're missing, and two, they made changes on their staff. And Rhett Lashley is offensive coordinator. I think a few other changes, and so that ignites and excites recruiting classes of, hey, they did the changes that are going to change us, so they're not going to go through another 6-7 season, and that's the big difference is we haven't seen anything as far as what FSU is going to do on the field yet. So until you get that, you can't sit there and compare the two situations. The only situations you can compare that are similar is Ole Miss, Missouri to Florida State because they have new staffs. I mean, and you look at Ole Miss, their class is way down there. As far as I don't know what their ranking is, but I know it wasn't really that high. So you got to compare them to teams that are going through the same things that FSU is going right now. You can't compare them to your in-state rivals that already have a year ahead of you in the recruiting channel. It's once kids see what you're going to do, and it showed last year where Miami was able to snag some guys late in the year once they started showing what the product is and what parts they were missing. But we haven't had a season with Norvell, so you can't really say that with him yet.
All right, there you go. Well said. Well put, Michael. Appreciate it. Phone line's still open. I think someone's been trying to call in here, but again, I don't know, for some reason it's hit or miss. It's Google Voice. Blame that billion-dollar conglomerate behemoth for not having the proper connection. Soybeans was asking, what's the word on J.J. Henry? Heard you mention him in the Pays-On video. Watch his film. Love his potential as a slot guy.
Yeah, they talk a lot with him. I think Coach Dillingham, Coach Dugans, even Coach Norvell has been frequently chatting with him. They're not recruiting a lot of slot guys, so he would kind of make sense when you think about they want different guys from, at each position. I've mentioned this several times that, running back, they want different guys that offer a different strength, and JJ offers that. JJ's a phenomenal slot guy that can do a lot of things that DJ Matthews does in this offense. Can be very explosive. So he's a guy that's highly interested in FSU, wants to visit FSU, plans to visit FSU, assuming he's allowed to visit. So he's a guy that's, as I pointed out in my hot board, he's pretty high on their board and a guy they're pushing hard for. I think he knows Hunter Washington, so there's connection there. Who's committed to FSU. So I think he's a guy that certainly is up there with the main targets as far as the receiver position, up there with Malik McClain, Pays-On, and those kind of guys. And obviously I already have Joshua Burrell. So like I said, if you add Pays-On, that gives you one spot left. So then they can break it down and be more choosy about who they want. But JJ's certainly a guy that they like a lot, and I like his film a lot. He really stands out about what he does in space.
Michael, I learned a little magic trick. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look at your screen.
Okay.
Okay, just look at it.
Oh. Whoa. Trent. And a phone call.
Let's go, man. Come on. These
I think we're up to 200 now.
amazing, man. I'm gonna be able to retire by the end of the night. It's the last phone call I'm ever taking. Who's this? The Warchant.com recruiting call-in show.
Hey, this is Jay. I'm out of Tampa.
Okay, Jay, not Jay from Daytona Beach, but Jay from Tampa.
Yes. Appreciate you guys for taking my call. I got 2 questions.
Okay.
For Michael. First off, I saw that Dink Jackson actually tweeted that, and my apologies, I'm kind of late to the show, so if you already answered it, but I saw that he tweeted that he's committing soon, and I know he was kind of forecast to FSU earlier in the year, so wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think, I mentioned this earlier, Chad, and that's okay. You weren't there. I mean, that's no problem. I don't mind rehashing. I haven't heard FSU, the buzz that FSU's recruiting him as hard as what they were. I think Ole Miss is in Tennessee of the 2 teams I've heard the most. I think it's probably trending towards Ole Miss from what I can gather. People I've talked to, even on the Ole Miss market, feel that they're going to pull him. So I don't think it's going to be FSU when he does make that decision, wherever that date is. I think I've gone in this where he's listed as outside linebacker, but FSU likes him as a safety. They only have a few spots left. Obviously, Terry and Arnold, Amari Harvey are both really high on their board. There's a few others. Kamari Laster's another one. So I don't get the sense that they're pushing as hard as they were. And I've always said, and I was saving this for the hot board, that my question about Dink was how much, if they're going to have room to add him. And I just don't think that's going to happen. It's looking like, to me, it's looking like Ole Miss from what I've been told today. But I had that already been. I've been told that for the last 4 weeks, but I was kind of saving that for the hot board. But sometimes these things don't get up as fast as I want. But yeah, I think it's trending towards Ole Miss from what I hear.
Appreciate it. And the last question is actually. It's good that you ended on Ole Miss because it's about Ole Miss. There were some rumors that Luke has been showing interest, or like Ole Miss is pushing really hard. And I know that you guys have been saying that the relationships run deep for Luke and Florida State staff. But have you heard any rumors about him showing slight interest in Ole Miss?
No, I haven't. I think he's been very solid. He's one of their best recruiters. He's very active on social media. Anytime FSU gets a commit, he's been very, very straightforward about, hey, I love FSU. We did several interviews with him, even after he got the Alabama offer. I'm not saying that schools won't push for him, but I just don't think I think that relationship he has with Dillingham and Norvell, it goes so deep that I just can't see that changing. I haven't heard anything to be concerned about with anything with Luke Altamar. I think FSU feels very good. And the fact that they haven't offered any other quarterbacks is a telling sign to FSU about where they feel they stand as far as in their recruitment, their confidence level in Altamar being in this class. So he's not a guy that I'm really that concerned with.
Perfect. And I'll leave you guys off with just my thoughts on this new schedule. In my opinion, this year would be, or it'd be almost like a blessing in disguise if Florida State wanted to change up quarterbacks and they threw a freshman in there. If you think about it, this year, these stadiums, these away games at especially at Notre Dame, or even at Miami, those stadiums aren't going to be filled. And trotting a true freshman on the field and a packed Notre Dame, or essentially would be maybe a packed Miami, these stadiums are going to be low capacity. So I know you guys were talking about that earlier. I think this would be a year if they were to play a true freshman on the road like that. So just wanted to give my 2 cents on that idea.
Yep. Trent, that's a really good point. I didn't really think about that the crowds are not going to be what they are. And so the atmosphere is not going to be as crazy probably as what you dealt with years past. That's a good point that it could, if you start a freshman, it's not going to be, that part of an impact in it. But that certainly is something that could affect the season when you talk about, crowd atmospheres.
Thanks for the call, Jay.
Perfect. Of course. Thank you guys as well.
Yeah, man.
Keep it up. Bye.
All right, man. We're going to close the phone lines down. Take a few last questions here from YouTube. This one, or actually take one from Facebook as we bid adieu to Trent Barnes and his $25. Thanks, man. Amazing. Brian Yablonowski tried, Brian. When do we get our next composite 5-star? Will it be this year, next year, or 2023, or maybe even later, Michael?
Well, I think you might already have one now. You have Brandon Jennings, who's as close to a composite 5-star as you get. And then you also have Travis Hunter in the 2022 class. That's it's a 5-star. And then next year you also have Julian Armello. That's Enzo Mello's son. He's the biggest prospect for FSU as far as offensive tackle. He's already a 5-star. So those are guys that, 2 of them they already have, and then one they could potentially add in Julian Armello. And then I think in 23, I think CJ Baxter is going to be a very highly rated guy when everything shakes down, when the rankings start coming out with the 2023 class. I think he's a guy that's going to have a fairly high ranking.
He looks like a grown man, 2023 prospect. Look at his neck.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's a beast.
I'll be interested. All right, Michael, what do folks have to look forward to over on Warchant.com coming up here, man?
Well, it's been a busy day, as people have seen already on Warchant, with obviously the basketball commit, which we didn't even talk about today that much in the chat. John Butler, love that pickup. That is an incredible pickup for the basketball team. So you got that. We got full coverage on that. Full coverage on CJ Baxter. Like I said, I've already put up a Q&A. Now, what we have coming up, we'll start doing the defensive side of the ball with a hot board. I think we'll start off with defensive tackles. That's some of the stuff we're working on. I'm going to start hitting up again, start doing some more prospect updates, kind of start over where I was before, maybe get up with some guys that we haven't hit up in a while, and see if we can get some updates going on there. I talked about Marius Mims visiting the next few weeks, so we're going to keep track of that, see if maybe we can get a hold of him once he visits and see how things go, and then kind of just stay active on the board and see and answer you guys' questions. And I'm going to hop on over to the premium recruiting board after I get a quick bite, and I'm going to get to all your questions, get in detail about all that stuff. But mainly the hot board's the next big thing that's coming up, unless some big news happens, another commit happens or something like that. But I think that's kind of what we have coming on deck. And I want to thank Aslan for all the work he did today. I want to thank all the callers that called in, and definitely everyone that sent in your hefty contributions. We really appreciate that. Phenomenal chat, and appreciate all the love with the background and all the fun we've had today, guys. But that's kind of what's coming up on Warchant.
I tried to write everybody's name down, but there's too many. Evan McCool, Polk County, Flabby Gilmore, Trent Barnes, the Soybeans. The guy that dropped like the first $15, I think his name was Rich. Everyone who donated, much obliged. We appreciate it. Again, stay connected to warchant.com and the premium recruiting board. If you do love Florida State and recruiting, Michael is on there every day making it happen. Your time, Michael. We appreciate it, man. Let's catch up later.
You got it, man.